Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you're about to hear and see has been done in one take. I'm your host, the One Take Man. Today I've decided to do something a little more unusual, but a natural offshoot of my previous work. Last month on my main channel, I reviewed a novel written by a YouTuber, and I thought for the sake of this video, I would review an album released by a YouTuber. The album in question, as the title perhaps already gave away, is Perihelion, which, if I am not mistaken, marks the LP debut of Sungazer, an electro-jazz duo consisting of Adam Neely and Sean Crowder. Both Adam and Sean have their own YouTube channels where they talk about music theory, life on the road, and various other aspects about their lives as musicians. And as musicians, they've performed at a whole bunch of venues in front of a wide variety of audiences, with a whole slew of varying performers and collaborators. You could argue it pretty much makes sense that they would collaborate this way and release an album together. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's talk about the actual album itself, or should I say, allow me to talk about the album itself. For those of you who don't know, the perihelion is the point in Earth's orbit when it is closest to the Sun. If you're getting some Icarus vibes from that definition, let me know. I'll let you know you're not alone, because I definitely had them, and I can definitely say that the album itself is built around that idea of reaching the Sun, of obtaining a very high level of both brightness and splendor. And in many ways, it actually reaches that level. From a performance standpoint, it actually works very well. Every instrument that is played within this instrument sounds crisp and clean. Everyone is really bringing their A game when it comes to this album. Given a lot of these are people that Adam and Sean have at various occasions worked with, it's not surprising that they work well together. And the compositions they wrote really allow each instrument and each sound to stand out in some quite memorable and quite beautiful ways. From a performance standpoint, special credit has to go to Sean for being able to match the pace and intensity of not just Adam, but every single guest performer on this album. Like, they all have their different styles and their different moments that they need to emphasize and be present within. And Sean's drum play really manages to lay down a beat that works well with everyone. It's not the same beat. He is quite capable of varying and of bringing the best out of every collaborator, which I can't help but admire. From a more production-oriented standpoint, so mixing and mastering, I have just as few qualms. There is no bloat, there are no weird sound glitches. I'm absolutely convinced that whoever is listening to this album is listening to the best possible form of these tracks. And now that I've gotten the big picture aspects out of the way, it's time I dug a little bit deeper, a little bit more granular into this album, and actually asked, what can I say about the individual tracks themselves? Well, I couldn't find the video or interview where this thing is mentioned, but every track on Perihelion is built around a specific music theory concept or premise, which the composition is meant to illustrate in some way. And I have to say, for the first three tracks, that very much tracks. The first single and the first track, an unofficial single, Threshold, plays around with a lot of sound layering. And given that after each of its numerous breaks, there is another layer of sound that gets added to the bass track or the bass rhythm. And also, and after a certain point, this is not the only trick it knows. This track can use. after a certain point, there's also some playing around with which layers get played in the breaks and which don't, making it very interesting to follow through and bringing the listeners to the threshold, of their experiences. Machina, the second track, brings a lot of old school electronic beats into the album, and then the third track, All These People, adds more party beats and a more melancholic tone, the duality of humanity, as it were. After these three, however, this album goes through a severe case of sagging middle syndrome. The fourth track, Dark, is way too bright for its title. You could argue that the idea behind it is that it's about escaping or transcending the darkness around you, which I could accept. However, the other songs in this on this album have similar or higher levels of disconnect, and nothing about them really justifies that level of disconnect in any meaningful way. When I listen to Lunar, I do not think of the moon. When I listen to the title track, I do not think of the sun, or I do not really think about it being closer to the Earth, or about orbits in general. It's just a piece of music. Don't get me wrong, all of these songs are still mixed and performed very well. So everything I said about production and musicianship still applies to them. But overall, the album comes across as hollow. It's got a lot of ideas, but it has no grit. It is bright, but ultimately colorless. Maybe it's because I don't know shit about music theory, or maybe it's because this isn't really my genre, but I can't really see myself revisiting any part of this album in the future. I don't know. There's nothing about it that really makes me want to revisit it. There is, however, one notable exception to that, namely Thick, spelled with 2 C's. The meme song of this album, a raucous party track with a lot of which is also very dynamic and has a lot of very interesting and very varied beat work. Thick, alongside Threshold, stand out as the 2 best tracks of the album. However, sadly, by that point, it is too little, too late to really, to really salvage it, as it is the song right before the closer, Perihelion, which is as down-tempo as the rest of this album and much less memorable. So yeah, that's kind of my impression. Overall, while I applaud this album as a piece of musicianship and production, the actual tracks themselves do not really hold any of my interest, or at least don't hold enough of my interest to where I want to revisit them. My final rating for Perihelion is a 3 out of 5. And that was my review. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed it, then please leave a like, and maybe even share this video wherever you think others will like it as well. If you have anything you'd like to add to my review, the comment section awaits your input. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. I also, as I've alluded to at the beginning of this video, have a main channel where I talk about more bookish/literature topics. The link to that will be in the description down below, right past my social media, which I also suggest you check out should you feel so inclined. Until next time, I have been the One Take Man.